Beanie's back. Back again. Beanie's back. And he's gay. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Beanie and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be reviewing all of the cards that I have, well, not all of them, but all the signature cards that I have missed while I have been away. First I was sick, and then I just became a fat, big, lazy piece of crap. So, but we're back, and yeah, we're going to be reviewing all of the signature cards that we have missed in the time that I've been gone. Approximately, I think there are 8 of them. There might be a couple that I'm missing, but I don't think so. I think I have all of the ones that I haven't reviewed yet. So, so that's what we're going to be doing today, and yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it. First up, we're going to talk about the 92 overall signature Adam Dunn. And whenever they released this card, I was kind of surprised because I thought that the signature cards were going to be much better. I didn't think that there would be any signature cards that were like a 92 overall. I thought that they were pretty much consistently going to be better than all the rest of the cards in the game, the other card types. But this card proves that they're not. And, you know, a lot of people may look at this card and be like, hey, this is a really good card. This is a great power hitter. Like, I can stick him in my lineup. He's going to hit a ton of ding-dongs. Well, in MLB 17 or MLB 18, this card would have been fantastic. This year, this card kind of sucks, at least on the higher levels. When you're playing on Legend, when you're playing on Hall of Fame, this really isn't that great of a card to use. But if you're playing on All-Star difficulty, if you're in Battle Royale or an event or something like that, this card's going to have a lot of value just because he's a lefty that hits for a ton of power, and he can play first base too, so that's a positive. But the major flaw with this card is just 58 vision and pretty low contact. You know, I mean, 82 is not that bad versus righties, but 69 versus lefties, that's really rough if you're in the World Series or even if you're in the CS and you're playing on Hall of Fame difficulty. It's really tough to get around because your PCI is just so small. Really, I've kind of learned this year that at the upper levels, the meta has kind of turned into high vision guys, high contact guys, and if they have power to go along with that, great. And you also want them to be good defenders and stuff. So I've kind of adjusted the formula a little bit to show that. Not too much, just a tweak here or there. But this card, you know, it's just not a card that I'm a huge fan of because of that. So for all those reasons, I ended up giving this card an overall fag of a 7.8. Next up, we have the exact opposite of Adam Dunn, the 93 overall Bill Mazeroski. And like I said, this card is the exact opposite. It has 125 vision. That automatically makes this card better than that Adam Dunn, in my opinion, just because at the upper levels, your PCI is going to be a respectable size. And you have no idea how important that is whenever you're playing at the upper levels. It's just so hard to make constant contact with low vision guys. So as far as second baseman go, I think that this is one of the best second basemen in the game. Obviously, the Rogers Hornsby is probably a good bit better than this card because he has power to go along with great vision and contact as well. And, you know, he also has a little bit of speed. So, but that doesn't, there are a lot of things to like about this card. I mean, he's not that expensive. He's only 37,000 stubs. So if you have the stubs and you have a need for second base, this is probably the card that I would recommend you getting, but, doesn't mean he doesn't have any flaws. With 66 and 65 power at the upper levels, it's going to be really tough to get a lot of home runs with this guy. He's going to be more of a singles and doubles kind of hitter. But with that big PCI, you are going to be making solid contact a lot more often. Another plus with this card is that he is a fantastic defender at second base. He doesn't have the strongest arm, but that's not really that big of a deal at second base. But he's very rangy, 96 fielding, really reliable hands, and 90 reaction. That's he's going to be great there. You know, you're not going to have anything to worry about defensively with him. He's a diamond shield defender. But he doesn't have a lot of speed, and usually if I want to get speed on my team, second base is one of the first positions that I go to. So that is a bit of a drawback, the lack of power and the lack of speed. But once again, great defender, great contact, and perfect vision. So that makes this card pretty valuable, and because of that, I ended up giving him an overall fag of an 8.2. Next up, we have the 93 overall Alex Gordon, and I usually don't like cards like this, and this card really is no exception, and that might be kind of surprising because you look across the board and aside from speed, this guy has all 4 tools, and all 4 of them are pretty good, especially the fielding and the arm strength. And yeah, if you're looking for a defense first outfielder, this is definitely one guy that you might want to consider, but the offensive stats just don't really jump out at me the way that some other signature cards do. I mean, 91 contact with 82 contact versus lefties with 78-76 power, 79 vision. That's really not going to help your PCI that much at the upper levels. Usually if you want to have respectably large PCI, it needs to be at least 90 plus, and that really limits how many cards that you can really roll with at the upper levels. And I'm not saying that you can't have any success with this card, but I am saying that he's probably not going to be the best hitter on your team, or even like he's probably going to be one of the worst hitters on your team by the latter portions of the year. And he's pretty expensive too at 75,000 stubs. If I'm going to spend 75,000 stubs on a card, I want him to be an offensive juggernaut. But there are some good things. First, the defense is amazing. He's going to be an amazing defender no matter whether you put him in left field, right field, or third base. And that third base does add a bit of utility value to this card. I will admit that. But he doesn't have a ton of speed, and just the lack of hitting stats that really jump out at you, I think diminish this card's value a good bit. But that doesn't mean it's a bad card. If you have plenty of stubs to spend and you have a hole in your outfield, this is a guy I would consider, but I wouldn't necessarily go after him really all that hardcore. So because of that, I ended up giving him a FAG of a 7.9. I do feel like this card is a little bit above that Adam Dunn just because he is a much better defender. He has a little bit more utility, and he has a little bit more vision and contact as well, but he lacks that Adam Dunn's power. So I do think that's a bit of a drawback. So yeah, 7.9 for Alex Gordon. Actually, you know what? Because he can play third base, I'm going to bump that up to an 8.0. I forgot to add in the utility bonus for him. So yeah, I will give him a 1-point bonus for that infield position. So yeah, an 8.0 for Alex Gordon. I feel like that's right. Next up, we have the 94 overall Bruce Sutter, and this is a perfect example of the whole being better than the sum of its parts. Because you may look at this card and be like, man, he only throws 93 miles per hour, and he only has 3 pitches, and his per nines aren't like 125 across the board. There is some validity to that, but I gotta say, every single time I faced this card, especially last year, this card spun me in circles. Not this specific card, obviously, but the best Bruce Sutter card in the game. He was just so hard to hit. That splitter is so freaking filthy. And I suspect that this card is going to be very similar in that regard. First of all, his per nines are great, 103, 116. They're not as good as some other relievers in the game, but it's still really, really great. And then you throw in the 92 walk per nine and the good control. He's going to be spotting his pitches perfect, going to have really easy time with your interface. And then the bad part of this card, or the quote-unquote bad part, is the velo and the pitch selection. So he only has 3 pitches. He has 4-seamer, splitter, and a slider, with a splitter being his primary pitch. That's a big deal because that means that you can spam that splitter and, you're never going to lose any effectiveness off of it. And let me tell you, that splitter is dirty. It has a ton of break. It drops off the frickin' table, and it looks just like a fastball coming in before slowing down by 15 miles per hour and just kind of falling off the table. It's a ridiculously difficult pitch to square up. He might not get a ton of strikeouts for you unless you have a guy that's really not all that patient. This is a guy that you have to be very, very patient with. And that speed differential of, really he has, even though he only has 3 pitches, he has all 3 of those pitches compromise the 3 tiers of velocity that a hitter is going to look for, which is, low to mid 90s, maybe upper 90s, somewhere in the 80s, and then somewhere in the 70s. If you have those three speed tiers, it doesn't really matter what pitches you have. You're going to have everything you need in your arsenal to get a pitcher out, to get a hitter out. So because of that, I ended up giving this guy a better grade than maybe the FAG formula suggests, just because I took a bit of liberty, because I know how tough this card is to hit. And yeah, for those reasons, I ended up giving him a FAG of an 8.7. Next up, we have one of my new favorite cards in the game, the 96 overall Michael Young. I love this card. I love everything about it. First of all, he's a utility guy. He can play anywhere in the infield. That has a ton of value. If you have like a lefty infielder that you want to platoon, bam, here's your guy. If you got a guy that you want in your starting lineup that plays decent defense, has a huge PCI, and can drive the ball with some authority, bam, this is your guy. I love this card. It's probably a little better than any card that Michael Young ever deserved, especially the defense, because Michael Young was not a great defender really at all. But I love it. I love this card. First of all, the 112 vision with the 112, 119 contact, that is perfect for the upper levels, and when you're playing in the World Series, this card's going to be immensely valuable for that. He also has 76 power versus both sides, so if you really get a hold of a ball, you're going to hit a home run, and you're going to get a lot of gappers, a lot of doubles, and maybe not triples unless you're playing at like Laughing Mountain or Coors or something like that, but still a ton of extra base hits. And then defensively, he's not going to hurt you. He's a gold level defender. He has 83 fielding, 78 arm strength. That will play at any of the infield spots. You can play him at shortstop. That's a strong enough arm. It's not, a killer arm, but it's good enough. 78 reaction. That's going to play well at third base or first. The fielding, anywhere in the middle infield. Basically what I'm saying is you can play this guy anywhere and you don't have to worry about his defense. He's going to make the plays that you want him to make. The only downside to this card is that he doesn't have a ton of speed. That is going to limit his overall value, but still, I think that this card is great. He's very, very, very expensive on the market. Your best bet towards getting this card is going 12-0 in Battle Royale and getting lucky with your pack. Right now, I'm currently trying to do that. I'll probably stream some of those attempts either later on today or tomorrow. But yeah, love this card. I ended up giving him an overall FAG of an 8.8. I think that this is one of the better cards in the game at the moment. Next up, we have the 96 overall Adam Jones, and I really like this card too. This card reminds me a lot of like a Mike Trout card, except he's not going to be quite as fast. But that's okay. This card has a lot of stuff going for it. That where the Mike Trout is going to have better speed, this card actually has better vision, and I may even argue that that's a little bit more important than speed with the current meta at the upper levels. He has 91 vision, so his PCI is going to be very, very big. He has 100 contact versus rights, 92 versus left, 90 power, 77 power versus righty and lefty respectively. Doesn't have great discipline, so you might not be check swinging with this guy a lot. But then on defense, he's a monster. You play him at any of the three outfield positions, and he's going to be really rangy and have a very strong arm, which is another thing that Mike Trout can't really say. He has a decent arm, but not a hugely strong arm. So I love this card. I love everything about it. The only thing that I kind of wish is that maybe he had like 80 stealing or something like that, so that you could really kind of use this card on the base paths as well. As of now, that speed is really going to be best served on defense and maybe stretching a single into a double or a double into a triple every so often. And for all those reasons, I ended up giving this card a FAG of an 8.5. That feels like it may be a little bit light, but ultimately he isn't the best hitter that you could have in center field right now. He's just a very good hitter that plays very good defense and has pretty good speed. So yeah, I feel like an 8.5, definitely a well above average starter, but maybe not a superstar level player. Oh God, this card... Bert Blyleven has been in the game for, I think, 3 years now, since MLB 16. He has never, ever had a usable card in MLB The Show until now. Now, I'm looking at this card, and I'm looking at everything about it, and I'm like, yo, this card is actually not that bad. It's pretty good. I could see this guy in my rotation, and it working. It's a very weird card, though. Very weird. One of the weirdest cards in MLB The Show. Bert Blyleven's always are. They always are. So, first of all, great stamina. He's going to be going deep into games for you. Good hit in K per 9. For a 98 overall, you would expect that to be a little bit better, but it's not bad. It's just really good. I mean, it's really good, but it's not like superstar per 9s like the Kershaw or the Nolan Ryan or whatever. But then he also has pinpoint control, which is very, very important for a curveball heavy pitcher. It's very important to spot those pitches because if you hang them, they will get hit very hard. Also has good home run per 9, which will suppress home run totals. That's very good. And then the stuff and the pitch selection. The stuff is good. Great break. I mean, basically flawless break. I mean, he has great break on all of his pitches. Velo is okay. He can run it up to 95, 96. That's pretty good. And then the pitch selection is what's so weird about this card. He has two curveballs. He has a regular curveball and a 12-6 curveball. He throws the regular curveball 9 miles per hour harder than he throws his 12-6 curveball. So that leads to some pretty interesting possibilities. I don't know if you guys remember the Phil Niekro from a couple years ago where you could really tunnel his knuckleball and his screwball together and it would tear hitters apart because they look like the same pitch up until the very last second where the screwball would bite in really hard on you and you would always be late on it, and then the knuckleball would just kind of flutter away really slowly and you'd be super early on it and you'd swing and miss. It was a very, very effective combination, and really smart players would start to tunnel those pitches together to really just spin your opponents in circles because there just wasn't a lot you could do with it. This might not be as effective, but I think that it could have a good bit of value. If you can throw his primary curveball at 83 miles per hour, and then throw that 12-6, which is going to be substantially slower than that regular curveball, it's really going to throw off hitters' timing, and it's really going to kind of force them to sit on either one of the curveballs, and that's when you can come in there with the changeup or the fastball or the four-seamer or the two-seamer, and there's no way they're going to be able to time it up well unless they're just a god at this game. So I really like the card, but I'm a little hesitant to give it just like a tremendously high grade simply because he doesn't have anything that moves horizontally, and I think that that's pretty important when you're facing righties with another righty pitcher. It's important to have a pitch that's moving away from that hitter because there are a lot of guys that play this game that struggle with that pitch, that don't struggle with curveballs. So I think it's going to take a lot of creativity to make this guy super effective. But if you can use your creativity and figure out a way to tunnel all those pitches together effectively, it could end up being one of the best pitchers in the game. So because of that, I'm going to reluctantly give this guy a fag of an 8.5. But I'm holding out until I can get my hands on it, until someone else gets their hands on it and kind of gives me some feedback or something. I'm going to stick with an 8.5, but with the caveat that could drop by a half a point or raise by a half a point. So, or 0.5 points, let's just say that. So, yeah, very interesting card. I like it, but it's just very weird. And then finally, we have the 98 overall Madison Bumgarner. I have this card now. I have not used him yet, but I'm very excited to try him out because really he kind of looks a lot like the Blyleven up until the point to where you get to his pitch selection. But very similar card, 93 hit per 9, 103 K per 9, 96 walk per 9, similar velo with 99 break. A very interesting card, but then the thing that really distinguishes this card from the Blyleven is the pitch selection, and I love this card's pitch selection. It's great. It's 94 mile an hour four-seamer, a 91 mile an hour cutter. I kind of wish that cutter was maybe a little bit slower, just because against lefties that can be a very effective pitch, but 91, that should work better against righties probably, so, we'll see. But then he has a curveball, a slider, and a changeup. Very standard set. But really, really good speed differential between his four-seamer and the curveball at almost 20 miles per hour. Then he has a solid changeup at 82, a good slider at 80. That'll be really effective against other left-handed hitters, kind of like that cutter would have been if it were a little bit slower. Just overall very nice. I think he'll be able to pitch to lefties or righties equally effectively. I don't think he'll have tremendous platoon splits against either side. Just a good card overall. I'm very excited to use him. I don't know if he'll stick in my rotation all year. It largely depends on what other signature pitchers that they decide to release later on in the year. But I do think he's going to stick for a good long while. Yeah, because of all of those reasons, I ended up giving him a fag of an 8.7. Bonus review time, guys. I really, this isn't a signature card, but this was just released into the Battle Royale rewards pack, and I really like this card. I really like this card. I have to admit, I don't think he's going to play at the higher levels. I really don't. 49 vision is brutal. He's going to have a brutally small PCI, especially against righties where he only has 70 contact and 80 power to go with it. I don't think that this guy is going to be super viable at the upper levels, but maybe you could make an argument that you want him at the upper levels because he's a great defender. I mean, he has 91 reaction, 87 fielding, a really strong arm, with 94 speed and 98 stealing. This card is a 5-tool stud. The only thing he doesn't have is the vision. He's going to have a very small PCI. But then against lefties, he's one of the best hitters in the game with 104 contact, 125 power. Is that low vision, is it going to keep you from really tapping into that because of the low vision? I don't know. But man, I love this card. I really do. I want to love this card so much. But that low vision, I mean, even if his vision was just like 80, I would be like, okay, this card, one of the top 10 cards in the game. It's better than all these signatures. Here's a bunch of signatures. I'll take Eric Davis. But because that vision is so low, I think that this guy is mostly going to be relegated to the realm of events and Battle Royale. But in Battle Royale and in events, I think that this is going to be one of the best cards in the game. Definitely one of the best non-signature cards in the game, just because I love that defense. I love that speed. I love that power. It's just a super sexy card overall. And because of that, I ended up giving him a fag of an 8.4. And I'll say that that's just kind of an average, because I think on Legend difficulty, I think he's more of like a 7.7. But then in Battle Royale, All-Star difficulty, I think he's like a 9.0. I really do, just because he's so good at everything. So yeah, and I figured I'd just split the difference and say an 8.4. But anyways, that is it, guys. I'm glad I'm back. I will be streaming very soon. Videos will be coming out daily now. And I plan on starting kind of a gameplay series where I just build my team without using any money whatsoever. So that'll probably come out tomorrow, the first of the gameplay series. I'll also be making news updates and stuff like that. So yeah, happy to be back. I love you guys. I'm glad to see you again. And yeah, see you guys later. But until then, peace.